Let's talk about a variable rate update. It's been a while since we've seen one, but I think with the current environment in the world, a lot of people asking us, what does that do to interest rates? Now, I want to clarify, because this is very important that people know this. Interest rates, fixed rate and variable rates, they don't completely complement each other. Think of it this way. If I was going from Vancouver to Toronto, I might be going the same direction, but I could take different modes of transportation. I could be leaving at different times. I could take a completely different route. I could have to turn around before I got there. These are all things that really cement the difference between fixed and variable rates. They're kind of going the right direction, but all these types of different things are very different, and this is where a lot of people get messed up. So let's start with variable rates. A lot of people think with the current situation, especially what we've seen in Venezuela, that that's going to have an effect on oil prices. Now, inevitably it will at some point, but this is what we need to remember. When it comes to variable rates, when it comes to the Bank of Canada rate, the Bank of Canada rate must always be this particular math. This is important. When they are lowering rates is because they want to stimulate or spur the economy. It means not enough activity is happening for business to be going at a pace. There's not enough consumer goods moving. There's not enough manufacturing investment. That's the idea in lowering rates. If the rate is neutral, meaning the rate is not being changed, there is just enough of that going on for a stable economy. When they are raising rates, that means that there is too much of that going where things are going to be, and we often talk about inflation being a factor. That means that basically, even though I think people put too much emphasis on that, it means the economy is going too hot. When house prices are going out of control and people's affordability are pulling away, when it means that that we don't have that the economy is running too fast and all that type of thing and running ahead of things, that means they want to pull rates down. So those are the things you want to work for. Those are the three situations you want to look at. Now, when we circle back to something like the idea that oil prices would drop, which would be a result of the U.S. not depending on Canadian oil down the road and having a cheaper source, particularly through Venezuela, it means that our oil will become less desirable. Now, let's put this on a whole global, or not more of a whole Canadian scale, with tariffs as a whole. We've talked a lot about these videos and that type of thing. The truth is that as our economy becomes more impaired by less demand from the U.S., it makes our economy weaker, and it only promotes static or interest rates to drop. The only way interest rates can go up is if that reverses and we have a roaring, very successful economy. Now, what skews the numbers a little bit is that we have is that you may not be feeling locally something where you are, but you have to look at the national numbers because those are averaged together. If you have a roaring economy in Alberta, a weak economy in BC, those will start to average together, and that may have an effect, even though it's not what you're seeing on the ground. So my prediction still, as we sit out here, January 2026, we still see a market that's going to be flat or a decrease in rates, unless we have a real upwards pressure on our economy. And so that means more jobs, more people making more money, more house values. But we're not seeing that at all. In fact, today there's an article released that Vancouver has had their slowest market in 2 decades. 2 decades. And we match that with the Toronto condo market that is considered nicely a bloodbath. We only have static interest rates to consider and lower interest rates. Now let's finish this off with fixed interest rate. Fixed interest rates follow the bond market. The bond market is basically a prediction of what traders feel like the overnight rate's going to be. And so right now we're seeing fixed rates higher than variable rates, and we're going to probably see that throughout the year. And so when people say, oh, I'm going to lock in, remember, and this is a very important point, fixed rates are based on the top of a variable rates prediction. So there's very few situations you're going to do better on a fixed and variable rate. You can look at a couple years ago that was the case, but this is more time on the term and unlikely circumstances or some things like that. More to do with events that are outliers. So right now we're going to see a situation where fixed rates remain higher than variable rates throughout the year. Now, do we think we'll see fixed rates go up? Probably they are more likely to go up than your Bank of Canada prime rate is, but they should stay static and probably go down a little bit more in the interim as well. If you have any questions, you want to go through your exact situation, I'd love to help you with that. We'll talk to you soon.